You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast, October the 13th. Yeah, it's not Friday, but it's October the 13th. I don't know, something spooky about the number 13 anyway. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
That's right. We're finally coming back to you with another episode here on a wonderful Tuesday. But we also want to kind of mention some news that we have for next week. Because let's get it off the top.
Yes.
We always do this where every single week we end up switching a day. We always end up screwing it up with our viewers and telling them at the end of the show.
Yeah, that's not good.
And then, they're never prepared. So I can't blame them.
Well, most of them don't watch to the end of the show.
They always tune out. So, which we understand. Look, we get a little wordy on here.
Wordy.
We get wordy. We're passionate. We got 2 reviews again this week.
Yes.
2 reviews. That's right. We got another Halloween review. We're going to do the same thing in December when we have Christmas reviews.
Oh, yeah.
We always do that. So it's like we've got double the content.
At some point, we're going to run out of Halloween and Christmas movies.
No. I don't ever think that.
So?
I don't think so. I think we'll always have a plethora to pull from.
I think that'd be Christmas would be more worrisome than Halloween, but there's always tons of horror movies. Like not even
That's true.
But I mean,
well, and just like with Hubie Halloween, there's going to be a Hubie Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, there's.
If there is, I'm in. I'm in.
We're not officially reviewing it, but I think we've all seen it. Keith, I don't think you've finished it.
Not all of it, yeah.
You've started it. So all I can say is
I could officially review it if we wanted to, but we can decide that later.
We'll decide that while we're watching the other reviews. So we haven't decided what movies we're doing next week.
We do know The Birds. We do know Hitchcock, The Birds.
Right.
So
well, here's the thing. I've been talking around it this whole time. So next week, Thursday, we're going back to our original time slot. That's right.
Thursday.
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 Throwback Thursday.
Throwsbay.
What?
Thursday. We're terrible.
We botched this whole thing.
Throwback Thursday. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
We got a couple complications scheduling wise, so we're doing a show on Thursday evening next week. That's right. Same time, 9 p.m., but our original day. Same time slot, original day, Thursday, which I guess our new original day is Tuesday.
It is now, yeah.
So I don't want to confuse too many people.
Don't worry about it.
We're never going back to Thursday,
except for next week.
There's going to there'll be plenty of tweeters.
Nobody has any
idea
tweets
what's reminding you.
Yes.
Plenty of that stuff, so.
Please, we're going to need tweets reminding people because after watching this, they have no idea.
We'll tweet.
Thursday.
We've been doing a little bit better about having some tweets.
We've been announcing our reviews early, so all the
you have no excuse.
Whiners
like to include people in on what movies we're reviewing. So you all can
agree.
watch. We want you to join in the discussion. We want you to watch weekly the show and the movies. It's a little bit on overtime, because this month is 2 reviews each week.
Right.
But I gotta say, I've kind of enjoyed, watching the movies that we have been reviewing.
Yeah, they've been good movies.
They've been, yeah.
And I guess we got some more to get to.
Enola wasn't great, but we can,
I mean, it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
it wasn't. I didn't walk away from it thinking, "Wow, that was a waste of time." Not one bit. I didn't think that way. I thought it was decent enough. See, Keith, you're giving me. You're totally disagreeing with me.
I thought it was a waste of my time. I don't think it would be a waste of children's time. So
okay, all right, fair enough.
It wasn't a waste of my time.
Not mine either.
Just because of the actress.
You see, you're gonna.
That's creepy.
That is
I know
creepy.
it is.
She's
creepy.
underage still.
I absolutely know.
I mean,
that.
I know age of consent 16 in Kentucky.
I'm
but
16.
still.
I'm still 16 at heart.
Well, is that malleable like everything else these days?
I'm sure Sean's talking about Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes, we know it.
Who was that?
the
I'm
mom.
just kidding. She is. I can't stand that woman.
Really?
I don't like her at all.
I know. I like her.
I
I
like
think
it's
she's a
because
good
of
actress.
the roles that she's played.
It's just
I
The
just
King's
don't-
Speech.
Yeah, she's had
fantastic in The
great
King's Speech.
roles, but she has been in a lot
Yes.
of weird Tim
Bellatrix,
Burton stuff too.
ugh.
So
Well, she's married to Tim Burton.
I know.
So I mean,
I mean,
you
that's gonna
expect
mess
it.
any woman up.
Yeah, exactly.
But she can be a good actress. She has her hits and misses.
True.
So.
Very much so. But we don't have any misses this week, or maybe I'm speaking too soon, because we got some reviews to get to.
Okay.
Let's
So
do it.
who knows what those reviews hold? I'm trying to toss to it, but I got so many connections.
I think we should just go ahead and play the review.
Crap. All
Yeah.
right. Well, then, fine. Here is our review again of the Amazon Prime original that came out this month, which is Black Box. Here we go.
Amongst many of the new releases coming to streaming services and not theaters this week are a wide range of horror releases. With Amazon having released 2 in the same week from Blumhouse Productions, the first of many horror releases Amazon made a deal with Blumhouse to release, one of these movies, which has particularly stood out to critics, Black Box, hails itself as a psychological thriller sure to scare. Starring Mamadou Athie as Nolan, a man who recently lost his wife and memories in an accident, Nolan has seen every specialist and treatment possible for his amnesia. Raising his daughter alone while she helps him to piece his life together, Nolan soon signs up for an experimental treatment with Dr. Lillian Brooks, played by Felicia Rashad. Lillian has created a machine called the Black Box that may be able to help Nolan uncover his lost memories. But as Nolan continues to explore his memories, who he really is called into question, and not everything is what it seems. Black Box paints itself as a psychological horror film, and while it does deal with the mind, that alone does not automatically make it a psychological horror film. While Nolan does begin to question who he was before his accident, and there is plenty of suspense, the film isn't as psychological as it wants to be, though does offer up a solid thriller that has a good story. While it does its best to instill fear through doubt as Nolan is horrified by the person he believes he might be, it's obvious from the start that more is off than Nolan's perception of himself. With an outside factor so obviously affecting what Nolan is discovering in his memories, any psychological horror aspects are effectively negated. Outside of this small disappointment, the film is still good, just not great nor particularly horrifying. Instead, the suspense does offer a few moments of thrills, leaving you on the edge as you piece together what is happening to Nolan. And while often the grander plot points become obvious, the smaller character choices aren't. The film offers a unique story, but told in a way we've seen far too often. One quote praising the film states Black Box's Get Out merged with Total Recall. And while I don't disagree with this statement, I do not think it is a good thing. The film instead is too reminiscent of these better films. With a dash of flatliners thrown in, the movie borrows heavily from better ideas to create a psychological film that isn't as cerebral as it wants to be. This leaves everything dependent on the characters and story itself, and luckily this is where the film doesn't fail. As a first outing for director Emmanuel Osai Kafour Jr., it's promising. The film just lacks its own voice. Even still, Nolan's journey is worth the watch, and will still manage to unnerve plenty of viewers. I give Black Box 3 out of 4 stars.
3 out of 4 stars for Black Box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go around the table, I guess, and let's give our opinions as to what else. Who else agrees with that score?
You've seen mine. It was a lower 3, but it was still. I still gave it the 3.
Okay.
Yeah, Sean, what about you?
2.5.
2.5. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm actually sticking with 3.
Okay.
I thought
Okay.
it was. So let's start breaking it down. We're going to be a little bit quicker this week.
Yeah, because we got another review.
Because we
to
got
get
another
to.
review
Yeah.
to get to. But yeah, so Black Box, 3 out of 4 stars. Keith, why did you kind of knock off a star and also agree with your 3-star
I liked,
rating?
for the most part, I did like the story. I just felt like it wasn't. First of all, it wasn't as scary as they tried to make it sound like it was going to be, and it wasn't as. Granted, it does involve the mind, but just because it involves the mind doesn't automatically make it a psychological horror film.
Yeah.
And I felt like it wasn't as psychological either as what they wanted it to be. I mean, yes, they do go into like memories and his memories and who he is. So in that aspect, they're trying to play with the psychology of he doesn't even know who he is anymore. But it never gets much deeper than that. You can kind of tell, like I said in my review, that there's an outside factor affecting him. And the fact that you can obviously tell that there's an outside factor playing in on what he's experiencing is what
negated the horror and the psychological aspect to me. It's like it's not really psychological if you're not lost with him. Like if you're worried about who he is as a person, that makes it.
So
scarier.
you're saying you're more disappointed with the fact that it was kind of sold as a horror film, and it's more of just like a suspenseful thriller. There's not really a whole lot like the
it
horror
has
aspects.
Scares, and it does have some aspects.
I was gonna say I kind of agree. I'm in the boat too that I didn't think that it was. To me, it was a psychological thriller, but it was not, and not to a very in-depth, type of psychological thriller. Not maybe like a Nolan with like Tenet or Inception.
Inception, yeah.
But I did appreciate it for, to me, it's a very deliberate 3-act structure. You can tell throughout the movie. I actually appreciated it for the story that it tells. And, there is what can be considered, I guess, a twist. I don't necessarily see it as a twist. I actually saw it as just kind of an evolution of the plot. And then I actually was surprised and enjoyed where the movie went after that fact. I don't want to give it away, but I will say that the last third of the movie, I believe, was more entertaining, at least to try to figure out, okay, I don't know. It's like I understood everything that they were building to, and then once they revealed that, your assumptions were correct, you were following the breadcrumbs, they led you to this trail, then it was kind of but do you know where we're going after this? And that left me kind of like, okay, I'm interested to see how the story wraps up, and I was pleasantly surprised. I wasn't blown away. Yeah. That's more the reason why I would give it 3 out of 4. It wasn't anything that was too incredibly integral or intricate that I thought, was mind-blowing. No pun intended. But I appreciated the story for what it was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, Sean, what about you?
I gave it 2.5 just because I had the movie figured out about halfway through. Not the ending. Like you said, I didn't know where that was going, but I felt like this wasn't, even though it was somewhat original, I didn't feel like it was anything that I hadn't already seen before.
I agree.
I do feel like the acting from some of the actors was pretty lame, especially the guy's brother I thought was pretty terrible. And I don't want to like spoil it, but the other main character that's locked away kind of inside that ends up becoming a little more prevalent towards the end. I didn't think his acting was very good. The main character was very good, especially for someone that I've never heard of or seen before.
I agree.
I thought it was very good. As far as an independent film goes, it was production quality-wise, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I really just had a hard time finding anything special in the movie. Like it felt just mediocre, kind of plain.
Completely.
It wasn't a bad movie, but it wasn't a great movie. It was entertaining. The end of it, like you said, it ramps up. It does get the last 20 to 30 minutes of the movie are pretty substantial. And I really did feel like that was what I was kind of bored by the beginning of the movie. And then when it started, once he started going and actually meeting the woman that he has been envisioning
to enter the black box.
That's when it started becoming more interesting, but it just confirmed what I was already suspecting.
It takes a while. I agree. I was bored at the first half. It kind of takes a while to get there. And I do agree with what you said. I had read online, one critic had called it Get Out meets Total Recall, and they praised it. They said that was a good thing. And to me, that was actually the problem I had with it. I didn't think it was a good thing. I saw too much of
those two movies.
Yeah, I saw too much of ideas borrowed from those, and I mentioned in my review also Flatliners. I felt like those those 3 movies, like it borrowed like different ideas from them, but it didn't add anything unique of its own to really set itself apart. And I mean, again, I don't think the story was bad, which is why I gave it the 3. I just felt like it wasn't as unique as it could have been.
And I would agree with those points as well. I mean, honestly, to touch on exactly what you said, Sean. That also was another reason why I think I ticked off a full star. It was just like there isn't anything spectacular about it. I mean, it's cohesive. It's it's fully developed. There's nothing that I was left wondering. You could tell there was kind of this maybe, I think, thrill for whoever directed it, because I think, Keith, you brought it up that this is kind of
This was his, like, debut.
Yeah, the debut of this director.
And I'd have to, because I can't really pronounce his name, so I'll have to look it up.
Well, that's kind of what Blumhouse was trying to do with
Right,
these movies.
with these
It's like,
movies,
let's give some
Yeah,
no-name
absolutely.
people an opportunity.
And I think that was perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that's exactly what these movies did, and that was their point. And I've appreciated at least this one. I know The Lie is out.
I want to see. I want to see that. That one actually. After reading about that film, I'm more intrigued about that one than
Black
Box.
Emmanuel Osai Kafour.
Well, there
Okay,
you go.
if I'm not butchering, I could be butchering it.
No, that was
but
actually a very pleasant pronunciation. I enjoyed that.
That's the director. So,
But no, I the funny thing is I did not. Here's the other thing too: is I think I appreciated it because I didn't watch the trailer, I didn't read the synopsis. I just went in completely blank, which I actually a lot of times prefer to do that because.
Oh, I didn't read anything about this movie.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
okay.
no. I've read about The Lie. After watching this one, because I was kind of like, I wonder if that is something that I would be interested in
The
more.
Lie sounds
It
intriguing.
sounds good, but yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely gonna watch it. I'm gonna try to watch all of these films.
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing is because there's
Tis
four.
the season.
I was gonna say 'tis the season, and it's a great thing I think
Yeah.
Amazon's doing in supporting younger
Independent filmmakers,
indie artists.
Well, and Blumhouse.
Go ahead.
Well, I overall I thought that ultimately, that there just wasn't enough after the film ended that was special. I mean, one thing that I thought the director tried to do was there's a little intriguing part at the end where it alludes to it continuing or
Maybe
there being a sequel, and I was just like,
that's unnecessary.
Yeah, I was like, okay, wishful thinking.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
not. This is not Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
This is not
Lord of the
Matrix
headset.
or
Lord of the VR,
Lord of the Black Box.
the Lawnmower Man 2.
Yeah, exactly. This is not at all something that warrants a sequel or that I was interested in enough to be like, oh, I've got to see more of this story. I was intrigued for what the movie was. I was in tune the whole time. I was, watching, thinking, okay, yeah, I want to see what happens. But by the time the movie ended, it's like, I'll probably forget about it.
Yeah.
It's not something I'll remember forever.
The only thing that really stood out to me was with the ending, and again, not to try to spoil it too much, but there's a moral dilemma that's presented kind of at the end that I was really happy with the way
Yes,
that
agreed.
they did that, because it's basically like two people fighting for the same life. And it was like one guy finally realized that, and just from what I took from the movie, everybody else might watch it and might get a different story or a different lesson out of there, but it was almost like I had my chance, I screwed it up. This guy actually deserves it more, so I'm going to go away and let this man have his life back because he did things the right way,
right?
And I'm letting. So it was almost a sacrificial thing that happens at the end, and I liked that. That was the thing that I probably liked about the movie the most. Was that the good guy, the guy that's done everything right, is the guy that ends up winning at the end.
Yes,
and I like.
Well,
that.
and that's what kept me intrigued. The whole time. Honestly, what kept me intrigued was how is this going to turn out, and that's why I liked the turn that the last third of the movie took. Because in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know how this is going to end. I don't know what story they're going to tell. And I thought at first it was leaning towards a tragic ending.
Yeah.
For what I viewed as, no, I don't want this to happen. And so I was actually pleasantly surprised with the ending. But and while I liked it, I was also, intrigued with how are they going to pull this off. And that is what kind of kept me interested the whole time. And for that, I was like, okay, this is not a bad movie at all.
Yeah.
I would recommend this to people who have Amazon Prime and definitely want to check out. I would agree, Keith, absolutely with you that this is not something that if you're looking for a horror movie to watch this season, no, it's again a psychological suspenseful thriller. There's a couple of points that may creep you out, but for the most part, I think it's stuff that's been done. They're tropes that you've seen before. There's nothing that's going to make you just completely scared.
And even thrillers can be scary. I mean, Hitchcock has proven that.
Yes.
It's just this one's not.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Hitchcock,
wow, that was Keith. You set it up perfectly. Keep going.
Here's our review.
Damn it!
Dial M
Don't
for
go
Murder.
so quick. I gotta get it ready.
I paused.
told him to go.
I had like a
Last week's Hollering Review saw us tackling Rear Window, a Hitchcock classic released in September of 1954, which centered around one man witnessing a possible homicide and trying to solve what really happened. This week, we go back to the beginning of 1954 to review a film Hitchcock had released in the same year as Rear Window. Like Rear Window, this film received rave reviews and notoriety. And while it may not have embedded itself as deeply in pop culture as the film that came right after it, Dial M for Murder is still considered one of Hitchcock's best. Starring Ray Milland as Tony Windus, a retired tennis player who discovers his wife Margot, portrayed by Grace Kelly, is having an affair with crime fiction writer Mark Halliday, played by Robert Cummings. Dial M proceeds to tell the story of how Ray conspires to have his wife murdered, and the subsequent investigation surrounding the assassination attempt. Dial M is a suspense crime film centered on Chief Inspector Hubbard, played by John Williams' investigation into Ray's assassination attempt. Touted as one of Hitchcock's best films centered around murder, much like Rear Window, Dial M, while sharing similarities to the film that would release the same year, is also vastly different. Dial M, despite claims to the contrary, is much more based in the crime mystery genre, lacking the thrilling suspense Rear Window offers. As a viewer, you are already aware of the outcome surrounding the film's internal mystery, already knowing who is guilty. The fun of Dial M comes from watching Inspector Hubbard and Mark as they attempt to resolve the case while Ray does his best to cover his tracks. The twist is clever and the film fun to follow, but truthfully lacks as a choice for Halloween. There will not be any cheap scares, something Hitchcock doesn't do anyway, but there is likewise little in the way of fear built on suspense. While suspense exists in this film, its role is in building up whether the crime will be resolved and the right person punished. This isn't a mark against Dial M, of course, but with many critics and film buffs touting the film as a perfect addition to horror viewing, first-time viewers may walk away disappointed. While the movie isn't scary, it never tries to be. Terror isn't Dial M's goal, despite what promotional material may lead you to believe. Instead, we have a straightforward suspense crime film that is a lot of fun to watch, but still a tad too straightforward compared to Hitchcock's best. I give Dial M for Murder 3 out of 4 stars.
Man, 3 out of 4 stars for this one as well.
I agree with that one.
My goodness.
I would say this is a much more deserved 3.
Okay, all right.
I couldn't. It's really good. I really liked this movie. I just couldn't quite give it like the 3.5 I gave Rear Window, because while it's good, it's also a little bit more straightforward than some of Hitchcock's other films.
Yeah.
I mean, there are like mystery elements and a few twists, but it's not as like mind-bending as a lot of other Hitchcock films are. And not that that's a bad thing, because not every film has to be that, but I just felt like he could have done a little bit more with certain scenes
Agreed.
that just weren't there. But otherwise, I mean, it is really good, and it is really fascinating to watch how this unfolds, because the whole idea is centered around this murder attempt that goes awry. And it's really not what you're expecting, which nothing ever is with Hitchcock, which I love.
Right.
But you're expecting, the name Dial M for Murder, and it's touted as this like, oh, this film's going to scare you, and it's really not that either. It's not scary at all.
Well, and that's kind of what we were talking about a little bit before.
Yeah.
While the review was going on, we were kind of talking about how this is. It is absolutely a fantastic film.
It's a better
worthy
crime
of the
film than Enola Holmes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh man, that
crime/mystery.
Yeah, no doubt. But this is not one I would classify as a Halloween movie. So
No.
sadly, both Black Box is more scary than this.
Yeah.
But
We
neither
tried.
one are really Halloween
This
films.
is actually this is the first time any of us have actually seen Dial M for Murder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but
I've seen plenty of other Hitchcock films, but never this one.
and that's the reason
So-
we picked it. We wanted something that surprised us. We wanted to pick something that was different than all of the other. I mean, he's got so many notable hits.
So many.
But we wanted to pick something that we thought, hey, let's take a stab at it and try it for this season to see if we like it. And
You should have just said, let's wrap a scarf around it.
yeah. So, well, I don't know if anybody else would get that pun.
They wouldn't.
They would.
There's only 2 people watching right now. So.
Well,
Jacob would get it if he's
Jacob
watching.
would. He would know.
I don't think there's a Hitchcock film Jacob hasn't seen.
Mm.
I'd have to find. I'm gonna
He
ask him
actually
about
pointed out the Hitchcock box set that's on sale on
that.
Amazon right
I already
now.
own it. Me and Jacob actually bought the box set when it first released several years ago.
Blu-ray, not 4K.
Yeah, they don't have
Blu-ray.
a.
Yeah.
They don't have a box 4K set yet. Maybe one day.
Someday.
But yeah, I remember way back, I want to say it was maybe 2010-ish, when they first released this collection. And Jacob, being a massive fan, he actually bought it when it released in Europe. He has the UK version. And then they released it in America. And he's like, hey, Keith, that box set I bought, Amazon's selling now. So then I bought it. And, of course, now that we're doing the Hitchcock reviews, he sent the sale to all of us.
Yeah. Which, trust me, I think I have one, but it's not as robust. It's got, I think, 5 of the major Hitchcock releases.
The one I have, I think, has, 13.
Yeah.
I think it's 15. I think it's 15 films,
So, but I will say about Dial M for Murder, why 3, not 4, not even 3.5? While I loved it, I thought it kind of rambled a little bit in the end. Some things kind of fell together too nicely, even though I will say Hitchcock, like he does, masterfully, whether it's in editing or in story, he always does tie up loose ends. He always makes sure that he tries to work in the dialogue to make you think. I mean, that's why I loved the beginning of this film when they're setting up the murder. It's like you always it's brilliant in the sense that you always come at a suspenseful film or like a mystery film where you're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. This one opens up downright where he explains to you
how
his entire plot and the meticulous nature as to which he knows how everything is supposed to unfold. And it makes you think, like, holy crap, he's thought of everything. This is going to work. There's no doubt that this is going to fail. And yet the brilliance and the suspense of the film comes from when little certain things start to unravel. And that was the only part of the movie where I wish they would have just exhausted that a little bit more and made it more intense by seeing how things could have played out and how things didn't play out the way they were supposed to.
And it's interesting that even, like you said, it opens up and explains everything, gives you the plot, but it also has this character, the boyfriend. That in his job is he's a crime writer. So he writes these kind of stories, and yet it didn't unravel, to him throughout the film until he starts having suspicions towards the end. But it's kind of like, I thought it was just kind of funny that he threw in a character that's basically like him writing this film, but in the movie he's a crime writer.
And that was one part of it
very
that
creative.
I wanted to be kind of, and I think it would be nowadays kind of more tongue-in-cheek. But I felt like I thought it was good, maybe just not the way it was shot. The way in which, at the end of the film, the writer comes into play and he starts putting all the pieces together and he's telling the exact same thing that you've already heard in the way it was supposed to play out. And yet, part of me was like, if he would have just got 1 or 2 things off from the way they were supposed to happen, it would have made it more believable. The fact that he did completely, even though he's a crime writer, I'm like, there's no way he would have done exactly the same exact thing.
It made me think that he actually knew and that he was just playing with him, just toying with him a little bit.
I agree, but that is a small, minor nitpick. Like, for the most part, the film as a whole is still intriguing from start to finish. And thankfully, I think by the end of the film, I will say the one little clever twist, I don't want to give it away, it gave me it was an aha moment for me where I was like, oh, that does make sense. Okay. Like, it kept me on the edge of my seat trying to figure out, how does he know? How does the detective know that this happened this way? And I was really happy about that.
I did like that. I know what you're talking about. I do agree.
Okay, fantastic. Wow. So we all agree on this one.
Yeah, I think so.
We all like Dial M for Murder.
At least when it comes to Hitchcock, you know you're going to get something good.
True. So. No, very true. I would agree. So far, no misses at all, which I wasn't expecting any. But definitely, maybe not one to watch during Halloween specifically.
No.
You could watch this at any time. But we do have 2 movies for next week, of course.
We do.
That we're going to review. And they probably are going to be more on the
I already know they
side of things.
I wouldn't say
one of them
scary,
probably not,
but they're not. Well, I know one shouldn't. It might be scary for children, not adults, but they're both still Halloween.
Be in the Halloween theme.
They both definitely are good for Halloween, even if they're not
for this
scary.
month of October, of course.
What are those?
Yeah, what are those movies, Keith? Sean, do you know them?
I know one of them for sure.
Yeah, because you were actually the one that mentioned this to us.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, in the, in the texts.
Oh,
the
okay.
remake.
The remake of The Witches.
Yes.
Which
Right.
apparently you're a huge fan of?
I love the original movie, yes.
Well, I'm very fond of a lot of Roald Dahl adaptations, some more than others. And the original The Witches it's a lot of fun. I mean, and it is, as a kid, I mean, I'll admit, like, when
Yeah.
they change
To-
form,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
scared the crap out of me.
See, I have not seen.
Yes.
I haven't seen the original, so I'm actually going to do 3 movie watches this week. I'm going to do
Ooh,
the
man.
original, the remake, which is coming out
Mhm.
on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's a Netflix movie.
And The
No,
Birds.
the remake is on HBO Max.
Oh,
Oh, it
HBO
is?
Max.
the,
Okay.
the original.
So I'll get a
yeah.
Oh, the
screener.
original is on Netflix.
Netflix.
That's
okay.
right. Who,
okay.
Sorry.
What studio is making Witches? Do we know?
The new one, it's made by what Robert Zemeckis is the guy that made.
yeah,
it.
but
yeah.
I mean, but what studio is doing it? Do we know what studio?
Probably.
I assume Warner
His-
Brothers if it's coming out on HBO
I just want to know
Max.
who I have to contact to get my screener. That's all. So I'm going to get a screener
Well,
from Warner Brothers.
I would say Warner Brothers since it's HBO Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That makes sense.
'cause
So I'll
it's
get my
third,
screener
yeah.
from them, and I'll watch it this
Yeah.
week after I've watched the original
and The Birds.
and The
And The
Birds,
Birds.
which definitely is a Hitchcock classic.
Yeah.
So 2 fantastic movies. Well, one of which we know is fantastic. The other one, who knows?
And The Birds is definitely more horror centric. Even if it won't, it may not scare certain people, and I understand completely why, because it's a scenario that some might not find scary, but it is definitely more horror centric than
Yeah.
Dial M.
Definitely a classic. I would say watch it around Halloween.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But those 2 movies, obviously more than enough for you to watch this week out there. All right, guys. I think we're finally ready. Let's hit the headlines this week. That's right, guys. It's our headlines.
Yes.
We got 3 big old headlines
I
on the
like.
chopping block for this week.
I like.
You like headlines?
Headlines.
What do you like about head? It sounds like you're saying like head lice.
Head lice is good.
I like head lice.
I like to use that special shampoo.
I like that Dr. Bronner's get rid of my head lice. Oh, we'll get rid of anything.
Get rid of the head lice.
Get rid of the head lice. Get rid of the grease on my pans and my kitchen. Dr. Bronner's will do everything.
Everything.
He'll do it all.
Okay, let's stop.
I'm t-
Let's get to the
I'm telling you,
headlines.
it's been a while
Please.
since we've gone off on a tangent.
I like that.
I think we're
I
on
wanna do
like
more of
3
that.
for 3 on this show so far.
3
on
for 3.
tangents. Yeah.
Okay, that
got
one
on the
was
box
that
set,
one was funny.
And then we got there was another
Dr.
one.
Bronner's.
No, we had Dr. Bronner's.
I don't know what
People
else.
might want to know about that box set. They can buy it on Amazon.
That's
I'm
true.
sure. If you're a fan of Hitchcock,
Hey,
it's
that
on
wasn't
sale.
really a tangent. I wouldn't get that was movie related.
It was.
Anytime it's
it was
about
off topic.
movies.
Dr.
Okay.
Bronner's. Well, it's okay.
Dr. Bronner's has nothing to
Nothing
do
to do with yeah. Here's the thing.
If they're a sponsor,
Every now and then, you got to get a little off topic.
if
Yeah.
the,
it's
if
boring
the
if you're-
one if the
True.
one true God Faith soap, Dr. Bronner's wants to
Right.
to sponsor our show, I
One
would love it.
world.
It'd be funny if
One
the
world,
only
all in one
sponsor.
world, God faith soap
Yep.
or something like that.
Oh, it's like
Over 100 uses.
yeah.
Hey, I've used it as shaving cream before, and it works.
Does
Oh,
it?
yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
I just
I didn't have any, so I used the Dr. Bronner's. It was
Yeah.
great.
I use the peppermint.
People
That's the
probably
only
say
one
Your
I
face
go
feels
with.
good with that peppermint after you shave.
Oh man,
It's
man, I'm
like
telling
ice
you,
on your face.
exactly. That cold air hits
Just
it.
don't get it in your pee hole.
We promise Dr. Bronner's is not a
stings.
sponsor. We're just promoting it because how much we love it.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
You got to get some. It
If
changes
there's,
your
if
life.
there's one part of the Green New Deal, it's Dr. Bronner's.
Absolutely,
That's the only good
It
part.
the only
will.
good part.
It will solve the world's problems.
Absolutely.
All right, in our first
gonna say, what's the
headlines this week, we've got a headline that's talking about, of course, none other than the box office again. That's right. There is no relief package. There's no stimulus coming for the theaters. It's failing,
I
guys.
just looked at the like the picture on this article for the first time, and I was like, "What the hell?" It's a bunch of mad-looking Chinese people.
It's in their movie.
I don't know why they're mad. They're about to their
They're
box
good.
office is about to surpass ours.
Yeah.
China's movie-going box office for this year is about to finally surpass the U.S.
The first time ever.
It's insane.
First time any country has ever surpassed.
Surpassed
yeah.
the US.
Yeah.
There and the thing is here's the thing. Think about it this way.
Every other country's back to business.
No, absolutely. That's fundamentally the truth. And the fact is think about it this way. So they're fastly approaching the $2.08 billion. And once they surpass that, or close to it, then they will have surpassed the U.S. movie-going trends for this year, meaning they will have surpassed the U.S. box office.
Right.
But think about that. That means that $2 billion worth of the box office was done in the U.S. within literally like the first 2 months of the year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because we haven't had anything since. Even Tenet, which has
rough.
failed
Yeah.
miserably,
Yeah.
only brought in like $60 million since it's been out. What was the War with Grandpa was the one movie that took it down this past
That
weekend
is terrible.
that finally released, and it only brought in, I think it was like 16 million or something.
Oh my God.
It's terrible. And yet that film that you see pictured on that article,
My
Sean,
People, My Homeland.
My People, My Homeland, just crossed $325 million.
Yep.
And it's a Chinese-made film. So there is no doubt that this is going to happen. The China box office will surpass and be considered more valuable than the U.S. box office. I mean, is this not sad?
It is sad.
That's pathetic.
This is sad.
I mean, when you think about it, because I mean, nobody talks about it, but I mean, America's like largest export really is cinema. I mean, that is a part of American culture that is uniquely American.
Yes.
Yes, other countries make films, but the film industry began and was uniquely shaped in America.
I would
Right.
say
All
show
these
business.
Other
Yeah.
countries are basing their filmmaking off of ours.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the biggest. I mean, look at during World War II, the freaking Nazis wanted to make movies like American cinema. I mean, it was
for
like the only thing.
propaganda.
It was the only American thing they liked was cinema.
Well, and
That was the only American thing. Kim Jong in
Oh,
North
yeah,
Korea?
Kim Jong-un, yeah.
He loved
He
American
loved the
cinema.
interview.
Yeah, they say he's got a DVD
was his
collection
favorite movie.
No,
bigger than anything.
That's his son.
That's his son. Yeah, that's true.
No, but the funny thing about it is, well, it's not really anything funny about it. Like again, it's sad. Even Stephen King took his nephew this past week, and there was a story about how he was one of 4 people
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
4 groups of people in the theater, and it's
Yeah.
like when you have someone like that who understands, who is a showbiz guy.
Yeah.
Well, he
even
loves
in terms
cinema
of being just an
anyway.
author,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
who's just I mean, we're just as upset.
Yeah.
I mean, we go to the movies, we support the film industry. We want to see what we want to go out and spend our money.
I don't
want
to see theaters go away. I love the
Of
theater.
course not. And so to see this happening, it's a sad day that the box office in general is usually something we can always tout as. I mean, maybe not in the best sense. Maybe it's our it's funny because it's like entertainment wise, it's like, wow, okay, Americans love their entertainment. I think if you play any of the Grand Theft Autos, it's one thing they get right about making fun of Americans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like we splurge when it comes to entertainment. I mean, look at part of the reason why Avengers. I mean, even look at Star Wars Episode 7. When it came out, the only reason it eclipsed the amount of money it did was because it did poorly in China and overseas. But it's a huge mainstay,
Massive
of course,
in America.
in America.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of a sign of. I mean, you look at like wealthier countries. It's like when you have nothing, like when you're not worried about poverty and hunger in the same way as other countries, you focus on things like entertainment. And I mean, that's people who want to knock America. You still have to look and realize that we are way more privileged than many other countries.
Yes.
And that is a clear sign of it is when one of our biggest worries are cinemas as opposed to
Food.
food. Exactly. Yes. So
It's another major American export, McDonald's.
we don't worry about
fries.
food in America. I
Right.
mean, there are people that do, and I mean that is sad. But
No, I'm
Not in
sorry.
the
The
same
poorest
way.
Americans are the fattest ones,
Yeah.
the fattest poor people in the world. Just saying. Yeah, I know people get mad at me for that.
there would be.
But no, but the fact is it's no doubt we do have that privilege as being the world's #1 economy. But even like you just brought up, Keith, about how the cultural impact too. I mean, it being a huge export in that regard. I mean, we were talking about it. I think after you had recorded the review the other night about how it's interesting because even when we talk about shows in other countries, we were talking about the popular shows in Europe, and it's like you have like Doctor Who and Sherlock. And
The original Office.
the original Office,
which
like
the American version, I would argue, grew to be more popular.
no,
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree, and I think in some ways for
Not-
certain
not-
seasons
yeah,
are better.
Yeah,
Uh,
not to
but-
knock the British version,
No.
but I
Yeah.
mean worldwide. I mean,
Which it spawned the
Yeah.
American version. But
Yes.
the point of it being that certain shows that are ingenious in that way, or they penetrate the American market. It's like people realize when they want to make it big. I mean, look, Justin Bieber would not be the sensation he is if he was just a Canadian star.
Yeah.
He comes to America, he becomes the pop sensation of America,
Yeah.
and then boom, therefore it's like the pop sensation of the world.
Yeah.
And you can go overseas, you can have a David Hasselhoff who's huge in Germany.
Yeah.
But the thing is it's like at the end of the day, so many of the other countries in the world look at our showbiz and they see that as a landmark of where they want to go or what they want to produce. And I think I was even watching an interview with it was Chris Hemsworth, and he was talking about how his first start was on an Australian soap opera, but he was like, yeah, it was really goofy and funny. He's like, other than that show, which is real popular in Australia, he's like, all we have are American shows.
Yeah.
So it's like we do outsource so much of what we produce here
Yeah.
to other countries, and they consume it, and they consume that American culture.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. It's sad, not just because, China's succeeding and we need to beat China. It has nothing to do with that. There's always, of course, good, healthy competition. The sad nature of it is it's our own ignorance and our own stupidity that we are blocking these things from being, seeing the light of day, and we're pushing back certain movie releases simply because
We're killing our own industry.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
We are killing
And,
ourselves.
and a great example of that, because we're talking about cinema being an export and killing our own industry, but you look at another one of our headlines is how Europe is now ticked at Disney because Disney has decided to release Soul only on Disney Plus. It's not going to have any theatrical releases, and the only country that has major theater shutdowns is America. So now Europe is ticked because
and primarily only in 2 states.
Yes.
Yeah.
California
two
and New
states
York.
that are causing
Right.
the majority of the problem. And now Disney, an American company, has decided to kind of shoot themselves in the foot, and Europe's pissed because they're saying, hey, we still have theaters open. Why can't Soul be released in our theaters so we can watch it there? You could still release it on Disney Plus, but we'd like
Just
to have the
release
opportunity.
it on Disney Plus in America
Yeah.
and keep it off streaming for at least the time being of it to have a theatrical run. But no,
Or heck, even release it on Disney Plus and in theaters so those who want to see it in theaters can still go. And,
Yes.
I mean, and I don't disagree with that. If theaters were, I would love for Soul to still release in theaters in America if possible, just because AMC is still currently open. I don't know if it will be by the time Soul's supposed to come out.
Yeah.
But it is kind of stink that it's really predominantly 2 states that are dictating this one industry, and it's sad because it affects not just the production companies and moviegoers, but I mean, there's people whose jobs it affects. The people who run the cinemas own the cinemas.
That's one of the things about it that I really just don't understand. I don't understand how. I mean, I understand. Yes, L.A. and New York are going to be the 2 biggest cash grabs when it comes to the theaters, but even if you released your movie everywhere in between, you're still going to make your money back. You're going to make a profit.
But Tenet's proven that that's not the case. I mean, Tenet was that release that was supposed to bring everybody back, but yet it's proven that, regardless of how big a film it was supposed to be,
I know.
It's not
obviously
pulling in
people
enough
are
people.
not going to
Also,
see
I
it.
still feel part of that has to do with the fact that it was the first and only major movie that's released in theaters.
We brought
I
that
really
up last week.
man, if they would have just if it was the 5th movie that released and people were starting to get used to coming back to but when it's the first movie that's going to come out, I don't think it was enough to bring people out of the woodwork to come back to the theater.
Yeah.
It brought us out, but I don't think it brought enough people. I think if
it's
they would have.
still. I think it's still a cultural thing. I think it's just the fear mongering with
Oh,
with
well,
the,
no
with
doubt.
the
No
virus
doubt.
and I think
People are still too scared to go
yeah,
back
and
out.
I think that's been a disservice that I've seen carried on with the media and then in the
they'll
mainstream.
go to Walmart, but they won't go to the movie theater.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, how is that any different? It's like, even if you were in the room, and we made remarks about, jokingly in some cases, how poor some of the cleanliness was at AMC when we went back.
Yeah.
But even regardless of that, if they had just
Wasn't any
cleaned
worse
that
than
up,
Walmart.
That's true.
yeah, very
I've
true.
been inside a few Walmarts
Well,
during the pandemic. You're not safe in there, I promise.
No, I was at Walmart the other day, and this lady was picking up the apples and putting them back down.
That's always
like it
wrong.
was like,
Yeah.
and
That's
I'm
just
like,
always
no, I don't
wrong.
want that one. I don't want that. And I get it.
hate
You want good looking fruit. You don't want bruised fruit, but
fruit. Like,
gross.
shit, it's coronavirus. Like
Yeah.
you don't pick stuff up and then put it
Put it
back.
back.
Well, see,
Yeah.
even if it wasn't coronavirus, I hate when people are like,
That's just nasty.
and then they're squeezing it, and like I've seen
Well,
people like
you should wash your fruit before you eat
You
it
should,
anyway, because it's got pesticides.
But
and
here's the
stuff
funny
on
thing.
it,
I
but-
remember going through as a kid and putting my hand up in the little sprinkler thing,
Yeah,
and my mom
yeah.
would be like, "Stop! That's getting all your germs on
all
the
over everything.
And I didn't realize it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just a little
Yeah.
kid. But no, the funny thing about all of this is that we're killing our own industry, and I
Yeah.
think it's from our own ignorance and our own fear. And I think part of it is, people are so. I think part of it is the reason why Europe is ticked at Disney, and I agree with them. It's like, Disney, of course, made the comment about how, oh, no, this has just spurred the growth. We were all, a year ago, we were entering the streaming market, but we're now a year later, we are a streaming company. We're streaming focused, is what they said. And while I understand that, and we've talked at great lengths on this show about the dominance of what streaming is going to do in the future and how it can be competition for the theater. But I never thought that it was, let alone a worldwide pandemic, that it was going to be literally people just saying, oh, we don't want to go back to the theater. Let's just have our comfort of our... And then companies to oblige them and say, yeah, we're going to give you that direct opportunity. We're going to give you major releases in your home. And then people are willingly going to either pay $20 to see it,
Yeah.
or $30, like
30,
Mulan,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
or they're just gonna stream it and then say, yeah, I don't ever have to go back to the theater.
Here's the thing that
And
I find
it's just sad.
odd.
It's sad.
And I mean, I understand, like you said with Disney, Bob Chapek had said that, and he said, streaming was inevitable, like that production companies
This
would
just
release.
sped it up
he
a
said
little
the
bit.
COVID hastened the process, which
Yeah.
I agree with him. But here's the thing: is he's saying, we're streaming focused now. And it's like, yeah, you say that, but there's still movies like Black Widow and the major Marvel blockbusters you're still refusing to release on streaming. So you're only streaming focused to a degree, and it's very odd. It's like you have to kind of like choose a stance. Either there's certain movies that you can come out and say, okay, we'll release these streaming and still have theatrical windows, or we'll release theatrical releases alongside streaming.
Yeah.
But it's very odd how Disney's kind of picking and choosing what goes to Disney Plus and what doesn't.
Well, I think they're smart in picking the family films.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because that's where the money is at home.
Yeah.
with your kids. But Black Widow, if that's one that they go straight to streaming, I think that's another movie that, and I don't know, like you said, you gave a good example with Tenet. That's a movie that I would think if you pop that in theaters, people are going to come out to see it. But
and we talked about it, to be fair, because we did talk about it last week about how if Tenet, I think, would have been a good first one. But I think to keep up that attendance and that audience,
You need more major releases.
You
Well,
needed
You gotta
one right
make
after the other.
People believe that
Yes.
theaters are reopening. When you throw one movie in there that's
And then a
actually
month
good,
or
and
2
then
months
2 months
before the
go
next
by and
one.
there's nothing else, people
Yeah.
are just like, well, this isn't really back to operating yet.
Yes.
And also, I feel like if you're giving people the option to stay home, and then you're going to
Yeah.
give them what they want. I mean.
No, I agree.
We are supposed to give. They're supposed to give them what they want because they want to make money.
They're the
but
customer,
I'm just
exactly.
saying, if you're just like, well, as a movie goer or a film person, you're going to say, well, I'd rather watch it at home. Well, I'm just not going to go to the theater, and eventually Disney will put it out on streaming.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if that's the attitude you have, that's part of the problem. If Disney would force people into the theater, the only way
Well,
you can
and
see
here's the thing.
Soul is in the theater. People are going to go see it.
Agreed, but it's part of the problem for people like us who love the theater. It's part of the problem for people like Stephen
Right.
King who are we. I mean,
Who's
and,
willing
and
to
that's
go,
kind of the
'cause
bigger
there's
question.
some people that aren't going to be willing to go no matter what.
Regardless, because they're sitting there thinking like what you just described, Sean, about how it's like, okay, why are we in this predicament? We know they're going to push it out to streaming. We
Right.
know they have the capability now. They have those channels.
Yep.
So why even go to the theater if we know that enough people stay
if
home?
we wait long enough,
they're
they'll
gonna
eventually
put it out.
on streaming. So
And I think that kind of leads us into our last headline, which is just, of course, every major release now for the rest of this year is pushed to next year.
there's nothing coming.
There's
to theaters.
nothing. There's nothing left. It's all gone. So we have nothing to look forward
So
to.
you're now paying $20 a month for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that was something we brought up before the show is, for one, if AMC Stubbs A-List has this stipulation where if you cancel, you have to wait 6 months before you can rejoin. Well, I'm going to have to now calculate, is it worth canceling because I'm not going to pay for a subscription
$20
Yeah.
a month
for
to not use
nothing
it.
in the theater.
Yeah.
And am I going to cancel now, or a little? If the longer I hold off, the closer we get to movies that are supposed to be releasing. Again, like you said, we're unsure if some of the movies that are pushed back to March, April, or May of next year,
Yep.
they could still be pushed back even further than that. But if they are coming out that time, then I better cancel now so that I save my money, and then I can rejoin by the time the movies that I want to see come out actually come out.
Yep.
I mean, it's a predicament. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like there is no hope for the theater this year.
Right.
There's zilch,
And
nothing.
AMC's, I mean, the people that are monitoring their finances are saying they're not going to make it to the end of the year
Yeah.
financially. They just can't.
And Regal's already shut down.
And if there's nothing coming out now, I mean, I think we kind of texted back and forth about it. Top Gun was one of the December movies that was supposed to come out, and now it's not coming out until July of next year. So that was one of the last
Bastions
blockbuster
of
kind of
hope.
movies that was
Yeah.
going to come out. And they said, no, not, Tom Cruise, they can't even pay him if they don't put that movie in theaters. So
True.
I mean, I just feel like AMC and these theater chains are really going to, and I'm not one for bailouts and all that kind of stuff. I hate that stuff. I hate.
Well, I think
but-
here's the thing. I'm not either. And to be honest with you, this is where the production companies, this is where the studios, this is where the A-list celebrities, if they give any damn whatsoever, they'll put their money where their mouth is.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is if the moviegoers won't support it because there's nothing being put out, because there's no way for them to support it, you can't ask moviegoers to, for one, risk their health that they're already worried about in a global pandemic to go to the theater to see a 30, 40-year-old movie. That's dumb. That doesn't make economic sense.
Yep.
So if you want to actually make people go back to the theater and generate that income again so that theaters can survive, then either you're going to have the bailout from the A-list celebrities and the big studios, even while they don't have movies in the theaters and they don't have studios that are putting them there. That's the only that to me is the only thing that makes common sense. It's not right to go to the people who you are not providing a service to and say, well, we need you back in the we need your butts back in the seats, but we don't have anything to offer you.
Yep.
That's not fair. That's just not right. And I mean, it's sad. I don't want to see the theater industry completely shut down. And my theory is look, I do believe it's a season. I think the theater experience, of course, will be forever changed by this. But I don't think the theater experience is gone. I don't think theaters are going to be shut down indefinitely. But I do believe
We got 22 days until everything goes back to normal.
20. Yeah.
Or gets worse.
Yeah, that's true.
Or gets worse. We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
One way or the other. Go vote. Don't boo. Vote. Don't boo.
In all
vote.
honesty, it's going to be a little bit longer than 22 days because no matter what happens, it's going to be a
That's
massive-
true.
It's going to be ugly right off the bat, no matter which way it goes.
No, I'm just making a joke.
But no, it's. I hate to end our movie talk discussion on a sad note. But look,
Well, it's 2020.
I want to tell what
That's all we
true.
got.
That's all. That's been the whole year. But it's sad because it's like I want to support the theaters and I want to urge people to go support the theaters, but it's hard to do that when we know there's no reason to. And right now, I think it just doesn't make any sense for anybody to get out there and go to the theater. There's no reason. It's sad, but
It is.
that's unfortunately where we're at. All right, guys, I think we are finally ready to move into, of course, our beautiful and wonderful relationship segment. Let's get to it.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Oh, Keith, what do you think about that? Oh, that's it.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
That's
I'm
off.
still thinking
That
about
could have ended the last segment.
Well, that's what I was thinking about still.
No,
I'm not into
no.
What do we got going on with our relationships
get you
this
in the
week?
feels. I agree.
I don't think there's anything
There, what?
lovey-dovey on here. Like, there's not really anything.
Oh, maybe
you
I need to
know,
add something.
I guess the closest might be, if you're
Yeah,
happy about your relationship.
true.
I don't know.
Well, and that's kind of the point of this week, though. And it's different. I don't know. I'll see how. I'm going to throw this out there and see how you all handle it, okay?
Throw it out there.
Yeah.
Did y'all read the question by any chance?
Yeah, I read it.
Before,
Yeah.
5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
All right. So the question, because of obviously we're in the month of Halloween,
Yeah.
wanted to kind of revolve around that. So the question is in your relationships, do you trick or do you treat?
I would hope you do a little bit of both.
Yeah. I think
You
that's
know.
the safe answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I think that's just anything in life is that, sometimes you have to have a little play and sometimes you have to have,
a little trick and a treat.
Yeah.
I agree. No. Well, that does
sometimes
it
you
for our
gotta give them the
relationships.
carrot. Sometimes you got to give them the carrot. Sometimes you got to give them the stick.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Ooh.
I'm not, and I'm just,
Maybe the stick is a little bit of a treat.
it might be.
No, I would
You've
agree.
never said no to it.
No comment.
Okay.
No, I can honestly say that yes, from a friendship of 30 years on this earth, almost 30 years, I
I
guess.
give you the stick.
No, I was just gonna say we definitely have tricks and treats. More so tricks than probably treats.
Yeah.
I don't know how you classify it.
I mean,
a
treat doesn't have to be
true,
like,
a trick.
I mean, there was that one time, and this is funny because it's actually
I don't know what he's gonna say.
because it was actually on the way to you breaking up with one of your relationships when we had stopped at Walmart and bought this massive bag of Reese candy. We had a great day that day, and it was all on the way. Actually, I think he had actually already broken up. We were actually just going to get his class ring back.
That's right.
And we kind of made it an
The
event.
symbolic class ring.
I don't know. We kind of made an event of it. Like we went to Walmart and messed
did feel
with
bad.
stuff. And
I felt
it was
bad
around
after
this.
that.
It was this time of year because they had the big old bags of Reese candy
right.
and the Halloween stuff. Because me and Nathan were playing with all the Halloween decorations, and it was.
Oh,
a
Nathan
random-
was there too?
Yeah, yeah.
So you all just
we
posse
made it an
to go
event.
break up. Wow.
Okay, the story
I'm surprised you
was
didn't film it.
the story. Well,
Right?
we sort of did. There
Kind
was
of. I'm
video.
sure Nathan has video.
Oh well, okay. So we were filming 26 years, the infamous 2-year saga of filming.
But I would say that was
when
a
we were
treat.
16.
It was probably a trick for your ex, but it was a treat.
Yeah,
for us.
it was.
That's terrible. Terrible.
and basically what it was is we were in the middle of filming when I got a text from we were already broken up.
Yeah.
But I had kind of I want to say ghosted because that wasn't even a term back then.
Yeah.
But you were
But
doing it.
we weren't doing it.
Ghosting, not
No,
doing it.
yeah.
Okay. No, but we were basically I wasn't giving her the silent treatment. I just didn't know how to respond to the breakup, so I was kind of just staying silent. And she texted me one day or called me one day out of the blue, like on my way to work, and was asking me. She was like, "Hey, I grant she was an honest person. She was like, I still have your class ring. You need to come get it." And I was like, "No, that's fair. I understand. Like, thank you. I'll come get it." And the only free time I had during the week would have been the weekends.
Right.
And we were filming this movie, so we decided to take like a good hour and a half
This
long
is why
break.
it took so
This
long
is why
to
it
make
took so
the
long to make the
movie.
movie. Yeah, exactly. So we decided to just take a whole long break, and we left from where we were filming, which was my old church, and we drove all the way out to her house, and of course with Keith and Nathan in tow. And I just remember, we had like Cokes, we had like Milano cookies.
We had all this big, huge bag of Reese's.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just like, and we were like, okay, we're gonna drive out there, and I told him like once we got in the neighborhood, I was like, all right, guys, I was like, we
got serious.
we
now.
gotta, I was like, she's gonna be upset, she's gonna be kind of down.
We
I
can't
was
be
like,
having a good time in
we
the car.
can't be laughing. And sure enough, Nathan doesn't take to any of this. He's just joking around.
Chicken, Nathan always just does his own thing.
Yeah, he just does what he wants. Exactly. But so what ended up happening, we pull in the driveway. Of course, I go up to the door, and I'm expecting this quick exchange. I get the ring. Well, she happens to look out, and she's like, is that Keith and Nathan? I was like, yeah, we were filming the movie.
She wanted to come
and,
say hi,
and she's
which
like,
was really awkward.
I want to go say hi. And I was like, okay. Like, and so sure enough, like she walks up to the car.
We
I
rolled the
know.
windows down with this big bag of candy and Cokes.
It's like, I know she had to be able to tell that, some crap was going down. That it's like, why are y'all sitting there just like driving around eating a bunch of junk food?
Eating your feelings.
Yeah, I was eating. I was in the feels. That's right. But no, it just ended up being a fun, like you said, a trick for her, a treat for us. She came to the premiere though.
Yeah.
So that that made up.
No
for
hard
it.
feelings.
Yeah, none at all. No. She's married now, and I wish her nothing but the best. Yep.
And you're still fat at home alone. Hey, I am too.
Damn.
I am too.
Dang,
Trick
go
or
on.
treat.
See, that's
oh
only,
man.
that's the only reason
but
I
he's
feel
got that class
comfortable
ring.
saying that.
I got that class ring.
that's right.
That's damn right. I do.
Got that back, didn't you?
I got that $100 of gold. That's right.
That
White
you paid
gold.
$300 for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they saw you coming.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll give
Man.
you this ring for $300, but you only
Oh,
get
hell
50
yeah.
for it at the pawn shop.
Yeah.
My parents even asked me. They were like, "Do you want a class ring, or we'll put money towards your computer?" And I said, "I want a class ring."
Oh,
Stupidest
man.
decision I ever made.
Yeah. Well, then you would have went
Dumb.
over there having to get your computer back from her.
I wouldn't have given her that. But no, I do think it's a healthy thing, a healthy dose to have tricks and treats.
Oh yeah.
You got to be able to
That's
liven
my
it up.
marriage is trick and treat.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Describe
yeah.
something, with
Well,
you and Amelia.
I mean, like the treat part. The way I would classify this is like there's playfulness, there's picking with one another,
Yes.
there's teasing and poking fun back and forth, and there's even doing things to each other just to piss the other person off because it's funny. But then there's
all on the spectrum.
Yeah, and that could be the trick or the treat,
Yeah.
depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the trick, and then the treat is the opening the doors for letting her out of the car, the taking her out on date nights, and her cooking different meals, and I mean that's to me it's the best kind of relationship where you can. It's not all serious. There's the playtime. There's the time where you can.
Yes.
There even be sarcastic or even almost dare I say be mean to one another,
But
and it be meaningful.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's still funny. It's like she says stuff to me all the time that I'm just like, I don't.
Damn, that was cruel.
It kind of hurt my feelings, but it's also funny at the same time. And it's just like, and then I look forward to getting back at her.
Well, and here's
So
the thing: how
it's-
does that change in terms of because obviously you test those waters a little bit when
Yeah.
you're starting out, but when you're 10 years in, it's a vastly different than when you first started out.
Yeah.
I mean, by that point,
I
you
would
know
s-
each other.
Yeah. I would say it's almost like I would look at it as compare it to farts. Like when you're dating somebody, like
Yeah.
when you're just new into that relationship, you hold every single one of them in. If one
Gotcha.
of them squeezes out, it's very embarrassing. Even though the other person laughs, you're still embarrassed by it. And then 10 years in, you're just like, I'll shit in front of you with the door open.
Well,
like,
of
it's
course
just
you
like,
better.
Yeah, it's like bring me toilet paper. This is a big one. Like, like that's how it is.
Well,
Vastness.
when you've seen your kids come out of that,
Well, yeah.
I mean, at that
Well,
point,
they don't
there's
come out of the
nothing.
butthole,
They don't come out of that. But you do poop when you have a baby.
There you go. That's what I
Poop
meant.
comes out. I will say.
But yeah, it's like, what else is there to hide?
Yeah.
There's nothing at that point.
So I don't even feel like there are limits to test anymore. Like I feel like it's if it can be done, we've tricked and we've treated. Like if it can be done, we've done it.
Well, and see, and that's the
So-
other good thing you kind of just brought up, and I guess this will be a little wrap up. It's like, because that's, I think, the more interesting thing is as a friendship or relationship continues on, you kind of start to think, do you know the person well enough that you can kind of, trick them into thinking, maybe that's part of they coincide. It's like, I got to trick them enough because I know them so well that to treat them. That's where the little white lies or Keith, you're giving me
I'm
those
trying
eyes.
to see where he's going with this.
You don't know what's coming, big boy. I'm just saying. I'm gonna treat you
There's a
someday.
treat coming.
Trick. I just get this image of going to the movie theater and Brandon's cut a hole in the bottom of his popcorn tub.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not good.
You're not going
not
to the
good.
movie theater anytime.
Not anymore. They're all shut down.
You want some butter with that popcorn?
I feel like this podcast
God
is
forbid. God
dangerously
forbid
racy.
you ask for an extra cup of butter, though.
Oh hell no,
Oh,
they
God.
ain't giving that
Look,
up.
I can't afford that extra cup of butter.
But no, absolutely. By far, I think you need a little bit of both.
Yes.
You gotta have the tricks and the treats in your relationship to keep it lively and interesting, and it keeps you coming back for more. No doubt. Just like the Red Moon Podcast, every single week, we keep you coming back for more. Don't deny it. Don't lie. And if you do want to lie to our email. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com. Yeah.
I love it when he says
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Oh, God, I like it when you say it better. I mean, this is...
That ain't no trick or
This night
treat.
gets better and better.
I'll give you a treat.
There's going to be so many things we say after this podcast.
Want a piece of candy?
You want a little licorice?
Oh.
How about a candy cane?
Candy
Ooh,
cane.
They ain't just for Christmas. All right, we're done.
I think we need to end the podcast.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. All right, that's right. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. Our podcast at redmoonproductions.com. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for watching and tune in every single Tuesday at 9 p.m.
But not next week.
But not next week. I was getting there. That's right. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube live. But next week, Thursday at 9 p.m. Catch us only next week. That's it. Thursday, 9 p.m. So until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Keith Cheatham.
So until next time, we'll
Happy
see you
Halloween.
Not at the theater, that's for sure.
at... No.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.